Hi everyone, welcome to Scraps to Crafts. I finally figured out a name for my channel, and this is Diane, and we are going to do what I told you in my first video we would do. Is we're going to start with the basics, and we're going to work on a journal cover. And if you remember from the first video, I already showed you the basic journal, and now I'm going to go through just the cover in this video, and my next videos will be step by step through all the different parts of the journal. I kind of wanted to go over the materials with you first, so that you could maybe, if you needed to pause the video, you could pause it and gather your materials, or you can watch this and then gather it and watch it again. Whatever works for you. Just remember, there are no rules. You can use anything you want to use when you're making these journals. This is just the way I have learned, and the way I like to put my journals together, and the materials that I like to use. So the first thing you're going to need is a box. So get you a box. I cut all my cereal boxes. I have one cut, but I use mostly cereal boxes, but of course you can use cracker boxes like I have here. And so you need to get you a box. You need a ruler of some kind. I like this metal ruler because I can use it to cut against and measure. You need some kind of scissors, just regular scissors. I do use some pinking shears for the fabric sometimes. I like the way that finish looks, but you can rip the fabric too if you would like to do that. You need some kind of glue. There's all kinds of craft glue out there. The ones that I like to use is the Fabrifix glue. This glue works really well with fabric, and it seems to hold really well, so I like this glue. Can be a little smindy sometimes, but still it's a good glue to use. And this glue here, this Tombow glue, is really good glue too. I really use this a lot with everything that I do in the journals. Sometimes I'll use a glue stick. I'll show you that down the road, why I would use a glue stick. You'll need some fabric of some kind for your cover. Just pick what you like. It just needs to be big enough to cover your front and back of your journal. And so this is what I picked out today to use. And also for the inside of the journal, I usually put a little bit of muslin in there. So I just have a scrap piece of muslin. I'll show you what we do with that. And you also want some ribbon of some kind for your tie on your journal. You can see that this one has some ribbon here. But if you don't, if you forget to put that in at the point that it's supposed to be put in, there are other options, so don't need to worry too much about that. Make sure you have a good surface for cutting on and working on. You're going to get glue on it, and just make sure you have a good surface to work on. And so I wanted to first show you what we do with the box. It's pretty basic. I go to where I see where the box comes apart at the seam here, and I just pull it apart. And I open it up, and you can see it's pretty much set up like a book in here. I cut around all these edges here, cut all this off and all this off until I end up with this. Now this was a cereal box. You can see it's just a cereal box. And I just cut it to the dimensions that I wanted. Now this is also whatever you want to do. You can cut any size journal that you want to have. I did this one, it's 8.5 by 6.5. But you can make it, a lot of books are 9 by 7. You can even make smaller, you can, use smaller boxes and make smaller journals. This is just a basic journal size that I like to do. So just remember, you can do whatever you want to do. Okay, so we got our box cut, and then you need to get your outside fabric. And so the outside fabric that I had picked was this. And I like to lay the fabric down. Get my scissors out of the way. And lay my box down on there, and then we will just cut around this fabric. What I like to do is do the size of the box. This is actually going to go on the front, but I just laid it this way so you can see it. I can turn it this way. The size of the box and about 1 inch all the way around the edge. So that's how I like to cut it. So I'm going to go ahead and use my pinking shears, and I'm going to start down here at the bottom. Let's see. Yeah, that looks good. That's got a salvaged edge there, so I might not have to cut there, but about 1 inch. Make sure you keep your box there where it should be. Okay, and then come over to this side. Remember, it doesn't have to be perfectly straight. Just cut along the edges. I like to get that pinking shear edge there. Of course, I'm not going to worry about this edge because it's already a finished edge. And then you just lay your box down there, and then you go over to the corners here, and you just kind of clip off the corner. And do that to all the corners. Right there, and one more over here. That doesn't look real straight, but that's sometimes the way it goes. Now, some will put glue over this whole thing, but I have found out that I don't need the glue over the whole thing. Another thing I want to mention too, that is, if you have a fabric that is thin and you can see this on all this design on from the box, you can add another layer of fabric underneath here, a layer of muslin, or you could even just put some paper, just cut some paper out and put it over and glue it down on there. I would just use a glue stick, because once this fabric is on here, it'll stay good. But this fabric's pretty good. Actually, this is some fabric that I got at the dollar store, so there's lots of places you can get fabric that's not too expensive. So what I'm going to do, I am going to glue, I like to glue the spine area here. So let me get my glue opened here. And then I'm just going to put a little glue on my spine area, just to give it a little extra. And then I center that there. And just push that down good. And now I'm just going to take my glue and I'm going to run it all along the edges. So this is my number 2 video, and I sure hope that you can see what I'm doing and hear everything, and that the lighting is okay, and trial and error. I'm just hoping that everything works out good here. So I welcome your comments and suggestions also. So any comments and critiquing will help me, definitely help me. Okay, so I put glue all along the edge there, and then I'm just going to pull this and bring it over and glue it. And these corners, let's just go to the bottom here and push up. Make sure you're just pulling tight. I just don't see any reason to have to glue the whole front of your page, of your cover. I think that once this is glued down, it holds really well. I haven't had any problems with my journals coming apart. If you have some fabric sticking up here on the corners, I would go ahead and use some of this. Ooh, there's a lot on that one. This glue is wonderful with fabric. A little thick there. And I know some of us are perfectionists and we want it perfect, and if you're that way, that's just the way you are. No worries. These little edges here, sometimes if they stick up, I will just give them a little clip. Give that one a little clip. There we go. Now this glue will need to dry. It doesn't take very long though. And then you can look at the back and see that it is all flat. And then to your folds. And there you go. There's your cover. Your fabric on your cover anyway. If you have some that's sticking up and you don't feel comfortable with that, you can take some of your glue and run it along there if you feel like you need that. But I'm going to tell you that we're going to be covering these inside of this cover. We're going to be covering that also, and it's going to be more glue, and it's going to hold it pretty good. It's pretty. Okay. Use a little bit of this glue here. This is one of my favorites, this glue here. And if anybody has any questions, please post them on my channel, on my page, on my video, so I can, and I will try definitely to answer everybody. Okay, so there we go. We got our cover. So now we're going to be doing the inside fabric, and I like to add my ribbon that's going to be closing, tying off this ribbon here. I like to add that now underneath the fabric that I put on this inside. but you can put it on the outside of the fabric also, because like I said, we're going to be covering these with some paper or whatever you'd like to. You can even cover them with fabric, but on this extra layer of muslin that I'm going to put on here will just give it a little more stability, is what I feel like it does. So we're going to do that. On my journal here, I have this little, oh gosh, what is this called? It's like a ring. I had the name, a ring fastener, that's what it is. And it needs to be put on before you put your paper in here. So I'll show you how to do that too. And you don't have to put a ring fastener on. That's totally up to you. But I think we're going to go ahead and put this muslin fabric down, and then I'll put the ribbon that I'm going to be using as the closure on it. So I like the looks of this muslin when it's ripped. So and this just goes almost the exact size, a little, maybe even 1/4 of an inch inside. And I just rip this. Okay, there we go. And this, pick up all those little stringies. Some people like to leave that. They just like the looks of that. And that's okay, because there's no rules here. No rules at all. Let's see. Okay, so now with this piece, we'll have to put a little bit more of the glue on there to get it to stay. So I just take my glue and just if your glue wants to work for you. And this glue is really not wanting to come out. Let's try this other one. So I'm just going to take this glue around the edge here. Don't go clear to the edge, because your fabric, inside fabric, doesn't go clear to the edge. But you might want to add a little bit around there after you laid it down. I laid your fabric down. And then I'm going to put a little bit in here and some around over here. And really, I think that's enough. Okay, now we're going to lay our fabric down. Just kind of smooth it out. And if you feel like you got some fabrics wanting to roll up on you, just take a little of your glue and lay it around there, and it will stick it down for you, like on the edges here. Fabrifix can be stringy sometimes, but it's worth it to use it because it sticks. Fabric to fabric is really, it's really good glue for this kind of project. Okay. Sometimes you'll see a little of the glue showing through, but it will dry and it should dry clear. But remember, like I said, we're going to be covering these pieces. I like to fold, give it a little memory there. There's your inside. Okay. And you can tell it's a little damp and it will dry. Just takes a little time. And there's your inside muslin part. Now, you can use whatever you want here. You can use even the same fabric on the inside. You can use a different color fabric on the inside. You might not want to cover these. You might just want to do this all fabric. It's really up to you of what you want to do. So I want to keep repeating myself there and to let you know that there are just no rules. This is your creativity, and once you get the basics down, you'll find ways of doing things and that works for you. So just keep that in mind. At this point, I'm going to take some ribbon, and I try to find a ribbon, something that will kind of match my cover. And I like to take a pretty good long piece of it because I like to put it all the way across the middle here, because I'm going to be covering this with paper. Now, if you were not going to cover it with anything, this I would put underneath here. I would have glued it across here and put it underneath the muslin, because I just think it holds it. You're going to be putting signatures in here, and they will help. It will help keep this in there, and you won't have to worry about it coming out. But I just kind of eyeball it and look where the center is, and take my glue and just move that down a little and just put a strip of glue along the center there. And then if you feel like you want to, you can smoosh it with your finger, but then you're going to have glue all over your fingers. And then just push it down. And there we go. And then I'll just make sure I have plenty of ribbon here on the end, and just cut it at an angle there, and this one over here. You can always cut this down later, and that will give you your center, your ribbon that you can tie it up with. Okay, so we got the ribbon on there now. And let me tell you, if you forget the ribbon, there's a lot of other options for tying a junk journal together. It doesn't have to be close up like this, and I'll show you some other options if you forget to put your ribbon in there. I mean, you can always find a way to stick it in there, but there's some other really pretty options for tying up your junk journal to keep it closed up. At this point, I like to put this ring fastener in because I like to add tassels to the journals, and with this ring fastener you can add a really cute tassels on here. So when I do the ring fastener, and you want to put it here because you're going to be covering this up, and that'll hide that there. And so I just go in with my awl, something sharp, and I do have a little piece of foam that I put underneath when I'm going to put a hole in it. And just remember, it's going to put it on your top, and I kind of eyeball it. You can actually, if you need to, you could even mark it. You can measure this and it's about 2 inches, so about the 1 inch mark is where you want to put it. So I'm going to put it right about there. So I'm going to take my awl and I'm going to make a hole, and I'm going to just punch it through there. And then we'll take our little fastener and we'll just stick it through. And you can see over here on the other side, and just push those sides down. And if you need to, I'm sure you'll hear about bone folders if you haven't already. I take my bone folder, push that down a little. And there you have your little ring fastener there, so you can hang whatever you like, but I'll do a video showing you how to do tassels if you want to do a tassel. Okay, so got that done. And now we're going to do the inside, which I usually do. And let me show you this one again. I just cover it with paper. And I just use construction paper that I have, extra construction paper that I have, or scrapbooking paper. You want something that's a little sturdy. You're going to cover it with your inside cover with different things, like I did with this side when I put a pocket in here. And so what I picked out here was just some extra yellow paper that I had here, and I thought that it went well with this cover. I like how the yellow goes with those flowers. So you go in here and you're going to take your paper and you're going to mark it, and you want to mark it. Look and see where your fold is, where your spine is going to fold. You can kind of get an idea where to mark your paper, because you're going to cover that spine also with the paper. So I mark it, and I've got a cutter, paper cutter, but you can use scissors too if you want. And an easy way to use the scissors is go where your mark is and just line that paper up front and bottom where you marked it. Let me get it straight over here, and just fold it. Use your bone cutter and just fold your paper. You can do it that way, or you can just measure it and go over to your little cutter and your paper cutter and cut it with that. But we're going to just cut it with the scissors. So where you've on the fold, I just cut along the fold. Because not everybody has those cutters. And then check and see if it fits. You can see where it's going to fold here. And that looks like it fits pretty good. And then I'm going to mark down here. I'm going to go about here. And then I'm going to fold that right about there. There we go. And then we'll just cut along there. And that wasn't very straight, so we'll try it again. So there you go. You got your cover there. And so you want one for the back side too. So you want to take, yeah, I had to use 2 pages. So take another one and just cut the same size. Just go along. And cut. And now you've got the front and the back. And you can see that those fit really well there. You want to have a little bit of space between your fold lines where your spine is. You don't want to have the paper binding that up there, so you want to be careful there. And now you're going to want to do a piece in the spine, and so you want to go in a little bit. Like I said, you need a little bit of space there, a little bit of space on the other side. So I'm going to go right about there. I'm going to go ahead and fold my paper. I'm going to cut along my fold line. Like I said, I would normally be using my paper cutter here, but I wanted to make it easy for those that don't have paper cutters, and just scissors, because they work just as well too. And then we'll come down down here, and we will kind of measure that to match up with, let me double check that. There we go. Okay, so it looks like it's going to close nicely. So now we are going to go in and glue these down. So get your glue out again. And just glue around on your paper there. Go to the edges, but just remember that you, and spread a little around in here. And you remember that if you don't get right to the edge, you can always add a little glue later. Turn that over. Just glue it down. And then back of the book. I hope that this is clear to everyone, that you're understanding. It's always good for me to visually see things done. So hopefully this will help you be able to do a journal cover easily. And if you find something that's easier, a different way of doing something, go for it, because like I said, no rules here. Now we'll put the center spine piece in. Looks like I'm getting ready to need to get some more glue. Okay, go around the edges. Okay. this down in the center. And just, okay, so here we are. Should be able to, and you'll, if you let it sit, let it dry, go ahead and bend those folds there, and then here almost looks like it's shifted on me. Over just a little. Okay. Yeah. All right. Now, this will take a little time to dry, but it doesn't take too long. But you can see that your ribbon's in there good. And you can tie it off. And this is your cover for your junk journal. So there it is. There it is. All covered, all done. And as you watch this, you might think of some other ideas that you might find that it might be easier to put this together, but this is the way I do it. So that's what I thought I would share with you. Now, if someone out there is just starting, this is their first junk journal, and this is the way they're going to do it, I would go ahead and leave this as is and let it dry, and then start collecting your signature pages. Now remember, your signature pages are those pages in the book. They're called signatures. These are your signatures. And let me grab some paper here and give you an idea of what you're looking for. And actually, you're just looking for any kind of paper. Any kind of paper. This is some scrapbook paper, and we'll be cutting it down to fit in your journal. So don't worry about size right now, but you're going to take your pieces of paper that you're gathering and just fold them in half. Fold all your pages in half. This you can take. This looks like an old funeral home. Isn't that interesting? Anyway, just fold it in half, and just, this looks like stationery. Fold it in half, and you know the sizes. It doesn't matter about the sizes. This is pretty paper. Here's some tea-dyed paper. There's another junk journal lingo, tea-dyed, dyeing paper. Here is just, this is a piece of scrapbook paper, but it is music paper. It's like music print on it. There's some more tie-dyed paper, or tea-dyed paper. And you can use several of one kind, a couple of the same kind. Here's a small piece of little stationery. It doesn't matter. Here's just notebook paper, regular notebook paper. Because remember, we're going to go in and we're going to decorate and create some really, really cool pages. There's a word out there I haven't brought up, and it's called ephemera. And I know some of you know what ephemera is. Some of you don't know what ephemera is, but we are going to have these pages covered with ephemera when we get done with this journal. Okay, that's probably plenty for now. So I've got all these papers, and what you'll do is you'll decide how many pieces of how many pages you actually want per each signature that you put in your book. I probably will do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Let's say there's 10 pieces of paper here, but they're doubled. So you're going to have 20. And you can gather them together and mix and match them up. Don't worry about this thing. We'll cover that up. And that can go in here like that. Not like that. And this is how you put your signatures together. And I'm not going to actually be putting any signatures in our journal today. That's going to be my next video. But you see, this is a group of signatures. And also, in signatures, you can put, like, this is a little envelope. Or a little bag is what it is. And this can go anywhere inside to size. Doesn't matter. Here's an envelope. You can stick an envelope in there somewhere if you would like. Put it right there. But what you're going to do after you gather, and I would say in this book we're going to do at least 4 groups of signature pages. So we're going to go in and we're going to see how they fit. Now these actually look like they'll fit pretty good. Like they're not too long. Sometimes you'll get pages that are too long and we'll have to cut them down. But these look like they'll fit fairly well inside here. And looking at that makes me think that maybe my next journal that I do, my next cover, I might shorten this a little bit so that these pages are going right up to the edge. But remember, we're going to add tabs and ruffle, lace, all kinds of things to this journal, which will make it fill up to the edge. So anyway, that is it. That is our journal cover. A start on signature pages, and I hope that this sparks your creativity and that you will be able to sit down and do a journal cover. If you've never done one, I hope that this really helped you. And if you have done one, send me some feedback and let me know what you think. I welcome anybody's ideas and comments, and like my page, subscribe to my page, and I will move on to another video that will go through adding our signature pages and decorating and that kind of stuff. I may end up doing more of the decorating part with the ephemera and stuff before we actually add our signature pages to this. I think it's easier to get the decorating done before you actually add them into your journal. So we'll try that next time, and I hope you all have fun crafting, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye.